is the Wrestlebread Podcast, bringing you the latest news, recaps, and analysis of AEW and WWE. Get the unique perspective from a wrestling fan of over 25 years. Here's your host, Jaydee.
What's going on, guys? This is Jaydee, and this is episode 168 of the Wrestlebread Podcast. So we had a lot going on this week. First of all, congratulations to my Fightin' Phils. The Phillies are on their way to the World Series. An interesting fact, every time the Phillies have won the World Series was in the middle of a depression or a recession. The last time they won was in 2008, and we were in the middle of a recession. And so, more likely they're going to win this time. And I have a lot of faith. Fuck the Astros. If you're Astros fans, sorry for you. But I feel like they're going to win in 5. I hope they win the World Series at home in Philly. No, I'm not going to get any tickets. Yes, those tickets are expensive as hell. The tickets for the Philly games are a hell of a lot more expensive than in Houston. Probably because, Houston's been to the World Series recently as well. But them tickets were going for like $1,200 to $1,500. And I ain't paying that much money for the World Series and to sit in nosebleeds out in the open. But anyway, we also got football going on, a lot of, crazy things going on as well, especially in wrestling. We got 3 pay-per-views coming up in the next month. We got Crown Jewel, we got Full Gear, and we got Survivor Series War Games. I think that's going to be the official name, Survivor Series War Games. And so, both companies are having a lot of things to do as far as building up. First for Crown Jewel and then WWE for Survivor Series. So as of right now for Crown Jewel, which is coming next week, we got 5 matches so far. We got Roman Reigns versus Logan Paul. We got the OC versus the Judgment Day. We got Brock Lesnar and Bobby Lashley, Drew McIntyre and Karrion Kross, and then Braun Strowman versus Omos, the match that everybody has been waiting to see. Interesting thing though, I didn't even, it never occurred to me how much taller Omos is to Braun Strowman. When they came face to face this past Monday Night Raw, it was, wow, like Braun Strowman came up to his chin. I didn't expect that big of a difference between the two, which, coming to think of it, I should have knew that, but, sometimes they be lying when they talk about how tall someone is. But we also had another look at Bray Wyatt. First of all, his music is fire. I like it. However, I don't understand why the theme was playing when he was giving the promo. Not only was it playing, but it was playing as loud enough that the song was playing at the same time as his promo. And it was pretty distracting, so you couldn't really concentrate on what Bray Wyatt is saying. But then they cut to this face. It looked, I don't know who it's supposed to be. I don't know if that is supposed to be his brother or someone different. But it looked like they have a blonde mustache. It definitely gave me vibes of Red Dead Redemption. Or, Tombstone or something like that. Any Western movie or reference you can throw in there. And I think it had an accent. I didn't even watch back to see if the person had an accent. It looked like it was an accent. Definitely looked like a cosplay, a costume or something you would see on Halloween. Don't know what really to expect from that, but I am interested to see and find out more about it. Because there are like 2 schools of thoughts as far as Wyatt and this Wyatt 6 that we have going on. It could either be 6 personalities of Bray Wyatt, or it can actually be a stable with 6 people in it. It's believed that possibly Liv Morgan may be in it, which I don't know. I am confused with what is going on a bit with Liv Morgan. She had went against Sonya Deville, and she was giving me like AJ Lee / Alexa Bliss when she was involved with Bray Wyatt vibes. Like, she was skipping around the ring. She was dressed up like Harley Quinn. And I really hope that they're not trying to redo Alexa Bliss through Liv Morgan. Cause I don't know. I don't know if it'll work. I mean, it gives something different for Liv Morgan, especially with the title reign she just had and how everybody just like pretty much turned on her as far as being champ. But I guess it'll be something different. I don't know. But I'm really hoping that that's not the case, that they're trying to redo the Alexa Bliss character with her, because that's not going to make any sense. Plus, we had Nikki Cross come back. Nikki came back to play, and I'm happy for her. I mean, she said that she liked the Nikki ASH. I didn't really mind the character. I felt as though that WWE really missed out on, merchandising opportunities and to like really use her to get her over. She definitely could have connected with the kids. I mean, you're missing someone that kids could buy, merchandise for, because you no longer have John Cena around like that. You could have definitely used Nikki ASH. The fact that she's a superhero, you could have used her as far as charity work and stuff like that. She could have visited children's hospitals. You could have sold capes and masks and stuff like that, or even a shirt with a cape on it. I don't know if they actually sold a shirt with a cape, but they could have did a lot more. But instead, they did what they did with her, and then they threw her in a tag team, and then she just kind of like faded into the 24/7 scene. So really a big miss as for me as far as with that. But I am happy to see her go back to the Nikki Cross character. I'm interested to see how this plays out. But who knows? There were people who liked the past Raw that happened. Some people didn't. Some was like, it felt like a filler. But, like I said, it's going to get to that point where people are not going to be happy with something that Triple H has done. He won't be able to book everything super perfectly. It's not going to happen. I mean, even with the Black and Gold NXT, it had its problems as well. It's not going to be completely perfect. I mean, there's a big difference between, Black and Gold NXT, where it's 2 hours and everything like that, to having to shuffle for 3 hours and then a 2 hour for Smackdown. But so many people he could bring back. I mean, we got OC, we got Nikki Cross and everything like that. And you still got people floating around in the background. I mean, then there's NXT call-ups as well. So it's not going to be perfect booking, as we all should know. And eventually there's not going to be, he's going to run out of people to sign or re-sign. And he's going to have to work with the roster that he has. And there's going to be some decisions that people are not going to really like. I tell you that right now. Because eventually, WWE is going to have an influx of people. Not saying that they're going to have budget cuts or anything like that. But you're going to have people around that you're not really using. We still have the 24/7 title, out there. R-Truth just came back. So it's just like, he has to figure it out. I feel as though, like I said previously before, it's going to take like a year or so for us to really see, a true roster and the true nature of WWE under Stephanie McMahon, Triple H, and Nick Khan. So, and like I said, I do believe that, things were set up for a showdown at WrestleMania. Of course, everybody is looking at Roman Reigns versus The Rock, possibly what's going to happen when Cody Rhodes comes back. Because, he said that Triple H is his favorite wrestler, of course, despite all the times that he said things about him and made fun of him and, spent a lot of money on his entrance to, make jabs at him. That's what you do people who you really admire and like anyway. So it's just a lot of questions floating around. And I'm interested. I can't wait to see how everything turns out. I feel as though people just really need to calm down as far as, having such high expectations for things. I don't have low expectations anymore for WWE, but I won't be shocked if there's a booking decision that I don't understand. Like, they still have the shaky cams going on, which sometimes can get very annoying. And it really, like, takes the impact out of some moves. And especially there were a few times where the cameraman really wasn't in the best of spots for you to see what was going on. We also had just recently NXT Halloween Havoc, which was a premium live event. Normally, things like Halloween Havoc and Great American Bash are normally just special NXT episodes, but here we got a whole separate pay-per-view for it. And overall, I wasn't the biggest fan of it. This felt like an actual show. There was a lot of filler segments. There was a lot of talking. And it was a big difference from, normal, 5 matches going back to back to back to back. It felt like this was a show that could have been 2 hours, but instead they said, we have 3 hours that we got to do. Let's fill this up with as much as we can. And there were some people who were like, feeling some type of way. So I don't know if this is like full control of Shawn Michaels or Triple H or whoever, And like I said, even with the NXT, it's not going to be exactly perfect as well. I'm trying to figure out if this is the first premium live event with the gold NXT. Oh, well, I don't want to say gold because then you think of black and gold. But maybe I should say with the monotone NXT. I don't know what to call this new version just yet. But the less colorful NXT here. I guess NXT 3.0, I guess we'll call it. I think this is the first premium live event for Gold NXT. They did announce that they're going to have an NXT event in December. I believe it might actually be, I don't know if it was December 10th or something. I don't know if they named the date yet, but it's going to be called Deadline. Don't know, as far as what is going to be with that. But yeah, I think this is the first event of the NXT 3.0. And if that's what we're going to have to expect, I'm not going to be a fan of it because I'm not a fan of this whole filler and a lot of promos and stuff like that. It makes me feel like I'm watching a regular old, it makes me feel like I'm just watching a regular NXT episode, which is like, I don't really need that. But yeah, actually, was it NXT's? No, because the first, I think this is really the first NXT event because I think the last one, there was Worlds Collide, but I don't know if that was on a separate day or not. I'm gonna have to research that, but yeah, so we just have to we just have to, I guess, wait things out to see how things will work out as far as with this NXT 3.0 whatever. But I do hope that if they do decide to continue with these premium live events, that we're not going to feel like we're watching a filler episode of NXT 3.0. Now, going through some of the matches, there were some matches that was pretty good. The ladder match, of course, was great. Wesley winning the NXT North America Championship. I'm very happy for him. I'm waiting for Carmelo Hayes to be called up. He is like star. He is a superstar. Not in the Vince McMahon sense. Apollo Crews versus Grayson Waller was very confusing to me. I still am not used to casket matches happening without The Undertaker present. I don't know what Apollo Crews is supposed to be. I don't know if they're trying to make him into a black version of The Undertaker, or, someone discovered Harry Potter or something like that. But him now having powers, he has druids now, and I don't know. I don't know what to expect of this, because we had the whole, crying blood and stuff like that. I need people to come back to the drawing board for Apollo Crews and figure out what to do with it, because it's not working. Roxanne Perez versus Cora Jade was okay. It would have been fine for a regular wrestling match, truthfully. But for them to do the spin the wheel, make a deal, and turn into like this weapons match, there was the cool spot where they were on the ledge that the people from the pre-show, where they stand and talk from time to time. That was a cool spot. However, for me, it was slightly messed up because you could obviously see Cora Jade setting up for the spot. Like, she obviously just stood there and was waiting for Roxanne to, they didn't even do actually a wrestling move. They just kind of fell back onto it. But I am hoping that, outside of Toxic Attraction, really, the women's division in NXT aren't really that exciting for me. I may be missing names, but the women's division outside Toxic Attraction really isn't it's not there for me. It's not there. And, they have potential. They really do. It's just like, because you have Wendy Cho. There are people there. But as far as, like, on the level that we have with Toxic Attraction, like, for me, it's not there just yet. After that, we had Julius Creed versus Damon Kemp. That was an ambulance match. As far as how intense the storyline is, that worked for these two. It was, like, one of the best storylines going into this. The match didn't have the amount of intensity that the feud had. Then we had Mandy Rose versus Alba Fire, which was a weird match. I didn't know if this was a stipulation. I know it's for the title, but I didn't know if it was a stipulation or anything like that. Because we had earlier in the show, we had this little segment where they went into a haunted house. It was very similar to I think it was Cameron Grimes and Dexter Lumis. The House of Horrors, I think it was. And they were going through a haunted house as well. And, they were scared. And then Alba Fire had attacked them and everything like that. I don't know. That was weird. I felt as though they could have done that in the pre-show or something like that. Like, it was one of them segments that, we really didn't need like that. We also had Alba, taking Mandy, putting her in her car, pretty much kidnapping, taking her in her car and taking her to the arena where the match continued from there. Mandy Rose then retains, of course, and I know I say that, the women's roster isn't as intense as Toxic Attraction, but what are we doing with Mandy Rose here? Like, what is the end game? This is getting to Roman Reigns type of situation where it's like, okay, she has had this title for so long. Where do we go from here? Who is going to defeat her from here? It was a very short match, of course. So yeah, it is what it is. I don't know who's going to take the title from her, truthfully. And I don't even know who's going to like get built up enough to where as though they can take the title from her. And then we had the main events, Braun Breaker versus Dragunov and Jaydee. Now, I admit I was tuned into the World Series at this point. Um, and I really didn't watch a lot of this match at all. Because I was watching, I believe at this point, I don't know if the game was tied at this point or if they were up by 2. But I was tuned into the Phillies game at this point. And I saw that Braun Breaker won. I didn't really I didn't watch back for the highlights to see how he won. But I am shocked I'm slightly shocked that he retained, because I feel as though he is ready for the main roster, which I know I kind of slightly contradicted myself, because I'm saying how many people they signed and eventually going to run out. However, I figured it's the same thing with Mandy Rose and Braun Breaker. They have had these titles for so long. It's like, okay, who is going to defeat them? I'm happy that they're not playing hot potato with these 2 titles to kind of give it more prestige, and that whoever does defeat each champion, it will be that more much more honor to the person who defeats the champion. But overall, and I heard that the triple threat match was pretty good. And I wish I did take the time to watch it back, but it was a lot that has happened this week as far as with sports and even personally. So I didn't get a chance to really watch it back. So I did go over a little bit what happened with SmackDown and some things that happened with Raw. Listen, I cannot with Kevin Patrick. They really need to get someone else to do the play-by-play on Raw. He works for NXT, whatever, but on the main roster where you need to have that, you have to really display that excitement and things like that. He doesn't do it. There are times where he's very monotone, where he should be excited or really give that punch whenever there is a big moment or when someone wins, and it just where he should be at a 10, he's at a 5. And it really takes away from some of the things that happens on Raw. And it's really a shame. It really is a shame, because there's people out there who can definitely do it a lot better than him. We had R-Truth come back, like I said. And he came out with Johnny Gargano, and he came out because The Miz was talking about telling the truth, and he had a little fun segment with Johnny Gargano. Then he went on to go against The Miz. So hopefully we'll see more of the truth. I definitely love his segments. Hell, you can even throw a title his way for once, and to give him something, because he's been pretty much the joke character for such a long time, and he's really talented in the ring. If you never really seen him really go in the ring, definitely look it up and check it out. He can really go, and I just really hope with Triple H in charge or stuff like that. I mean, he can still be a comedic character, but at least do something for him. Getting into Dynamite, I really didn't watch Dynamite all like that. I meant to watch it back. But I did hear some of the things that happened. I did hear, and I actually looked and saw it too. There was a little promo that displayed the Elite, and they were being erased off of pictures and stuff like that, and or videos and stuff, basically showing that they are coming back. And the rumor is out there that their return is, it's a matter of when they're returning, not if they're returning. And I'm very interested to see how this is all going to play out. We still don't know what's going on with CM Punk. There's rumors that his his contract may be brought out. And then, of course, now I didn't look too much into this story, but allegedly they're saying he's going to go back to WWE, which is like, where are you guys hearing this stuff? Of him going back to WWE just because he wants his contract paid out. Y'all really expect that he goes back to the company that is ran by the guy who fired him on his wedding day? CM Punk is still upset for the shit that Colt Cabana did. And you really expect us to believe that he's going to get up and be forgiven he's going to forgive the guy who fired him on his wedding day and put him through a lot of shit. Now, it would have been maybe more believable if Vince was in charge, but it's Stephanie McMahon and Triple H who's in charge here. If he comes back to WWE, that'll be more jaw-dropping than Cody Rhodes. That will be the moment, I would say a decade. There are a lot of big moments, but I would say that would be the moment of the decade of CM Punk coming back. And then it's like, if he comes back, like, all this rebel shit and chanting CM Punk every time you get mad at WWE, like, that would be all for nothing. It would be a major slap in the face for a lot of people. And it'll be a major slap in the face of people who tuned in to AEW because of him and was pretty much like, yeah, fuck WWE. Like, it really kills me that some people do this whole fuck WWE movement over in AEW just to come back to it. It makes no sense at all. And I really hope that this is just a rumor, that someone is bored and they decided to, start some shit, basically. But I will not understand CM Punk coming back to WWE. That's not going to make sense at all. I think that, if they do buy out his contract, he's just going to live out he's just going to live out his life with his wife and probably never do anything wrestling related again, truthfully. But we'll see. Maybe this whole thing probably isn't even true, and he'll just come back in a couple of months and whatnot and go after his title again, I guess. Who knows? But it seems like the Elite is definitely coming back. We also had, and I did see that Willow is officially signed with AEW. I'm happy for her. I do like Willow. I think she is fucking awesome as well. It does feel like we are getting a actual match between Saraya and Britt Baker. I don't know. Well, I'm going to assume she is medically cleared. That's why she's medically cleared to have an actual match. Don't know how she'll be, because she hasn't wrestled in a very long time. So I'm hoping that it'll be acceptable terms, truthfully. But, I'm not going to really hold my breath with it. MJF is over as all hell, of course. I did see the clip of his interview with Renee Young where he was making fun of Jon Moxley. And then he sat there and said, with all due respect, and he insulted Jon Moxley, and Renee was like, you can't say with all due respect and then saying something insulting. And then he came back real quick with all due respect, shut your mouth, which I cracked up at as well. And we saw that the Firm had turned their backs on MJF as well. MJF telling them, don't touch Moxley. He wants Moxley 100% healthy when he goes one-on-one against MJF, and MJF wants to defeat him and, win as clean as he can, but he wants him at 100%, so there is no complaints. Of course, the firm attacked Moxley after his match with Penta, and MJF fired them, and then they turned on MJF. So, I don't know. People are definitely want a face turn with MJF, and truthfully, sometimes it would be very weird for him to be face. Maybe for him to, get over with the crowd, kind of similar to like Stone Cold or Kevin Owens, where you have the anti-hero type of situation where he'll, sometimes he'll throw jabs at the crowd and stuff like that, but the crowd's going to have a good time. We don't need him, kissing babies and shaking hands with elderly women or anything like that type of baby face, but maybe, just be a real person. Well, not a real person, but, have a gimmick where he is still him, but, he doesn't have to cheat in order to win type of situation. So as we're getting to Full Gear, things are slowly shaping up as well. I don't know what we are doing as far as with the Blackpool Combat Club. It looks like Wheeler Yuta is having a problem. I don't know if we're leading to a breakup between the group or not. Who knows? But I was really hoping that the Daniel Garcia thing would have went a different way. I don't understand why he, couldn't break away from the, I was about to call him the Inner Circle, the Jericho Appreciation Society, and join with the Blackpool Combat Club. It was definitely the perfect time to pull the trigger on that. And I don't know, sometimes with, I'm going to be patient and wait for the long-term story of this, but there are some times with the booking with AEW where they could have pulled the trigger on things and they just don't. Perfect example is Jamie Hayter. She is so over with the crowd. They're chanting her name and stuff like that. She is getting more traction than Britt Baker. And I'm worried that they won't pull the trigger on her. Not saying that they got to throw a title to every single person that the crowd suddenly wants to chant for. But, give her a slight bit of a push here, put her in more singles matches, as we saw her going against Riho this past week as well. Another name that a lot of people were asking for was Ricky Starks. He was getting over as well. They broke up the Team Taz, and he was getting the big babyface push, and then he disappeared. We also had another perfect example would be Miro as well. He got very over with the whole Redeemer gimmick and then gone. He's still slightly gone as well. It's just very weird, and I know that there are other people who you can name that, have gotten a push and then it's just gone. Wardlow is the champ, and he is teaming up with Samoa Joe, and it's there's these opportunities to kind of give people a chance to shine, and it's just we're not going to pull the trigger. I know there's another person out there too who definitely should have got the push, because they were getting very over with the crowd, and then it's just it just stalled. Now I'm hoping it won't happen with the Acclaimed, because the Acclaim is super over right now, and I'm hoping that they get to now they're at the top of the hill, but not get the push that they deserved as well. I did see the clip of Brian Pillman Jr., and a lot of people were saying since Kenny Omega is away, now all of a sudden Brian Pillman Jr. is using his moves. I saw the move that he did. He has talent. He definitely does. My issue with Brian Pillman Jr. is the fact that he is I feel like he has an identity crisis. Like you could tell like his dad definitely has a big influence on him, and because of that, he really gives me like sometimes he really gives me vibes of a wrestler from the late 80s. Like there was I forgot who he was going against. It may have been MJF, but you know, if for my old heads out there, you know when the babyface, when the heel is wanting the babyface to punch them in the face or shake their hand or something like that, and the babyface looks around and they hold their hand up and they look into the crowd like, should I shake the hand? Should I punch the person? And, you know, you hear all the kids and all the crowds saying yes or no and stuff like that. That's exactly what I saw Brian Pillman do at one point. I think it was him going against MJF. MJF, like, wanted to shake his hand or something like that. And Brian Pillman, like, put his hand out just a little bit and he started looking around the crowd trying to get the participation, you know, for the crowd to get participation points by saying whether or not he should shake his hand. So because of that, he really gives me vibes of someone from the late 80s, which doesn't really work because we are in 2022. There are a lot of people on this earth who don't know what the 80s felt like. And there are some people on the earth who knows what the 80s felt like and kind of want to forget what the 80s felt like because we aren't in 2022. And so, you know, with him pulling out moves and stuff like that, like he's a talented wrestler. It's just that I feel like he is trying to be, like he wants to be a character or a gimmick that really doesn't fit him or fits in these times, I guess I should say. Not saying that he needs to, you know, go off and, you know, do something crazy, but like he has his hair like his dad and stuff like that. He just needs to change it up a bit. Sometimes, you know, the gimmick that you want to be isn't the best for you. And, you know, sometimes you have to dig around in that imagination or head of yours and find something that works for you. And sometimes it can work a hell of a lot better as well. But I'm hoping that, you know, he'll switch it up with them. FTR as well. I know that they went against Swerving and Glory. FTR, Private Party. I mean, FTR had all the titles, of course. But Private Party, you know, someone who got over pretty well with the crowd, and they really didn't do much with them. But yeah, there's a lot of people on the roster who, you know, was getting over with the crowd, and they just didn't pull the trigger with them for whatever reason. But we are working towards Full Gear. As of right now, we're maybe like 3 weeks actually. About 3 weeks away from Full Gear. We only got one match set up, definitely. Which is of course the championship match versus MJF versus Jon Moxley. And I don't know, it feels like we're not, like, I don't see any feuds really that strong enough for me to say, like, yeah, this is going to be on the card. Like, I know there'll be titles defended. It's very possible we may get a Britt Baker versus Saraya. But I don't know. We're 3 weeks out, and, you know, not saying that I expect them to have, you know, feuds set up, you know, 3 months ago or something like that. But sometimes with AEW, they kind of like throw the matches together and not the feuds, and sometimes that works in the short term. However, you know, we definitely need something long term. Like, I know that the titles will be defended, of course. The women's AEW title, the TBS, TNT, the trios, tag team, maybe even the Ring of Honor world titles. But I don't know pretty much like what other matches there'll be besides Britt Baker versus Saraya, of course. Possibly Jungle Boy going against Christian or Luchasaurus, who knows. But I'm hoping that it's not going to turn out to be like 11 matches or something crazy where we could have a match or two put on a really good Dynamite. But we have Rampage coming up. We got the feud between Nia Rose and Jade Cargill, where Nia stole the title. She's hilarious on Twitter, by the way. If you don't follow Nyla Rose on Twitter, definitely follow her. She is hilarious on Twitter as well. But yeah, and then we have Survivor Series War Games coming up. It's announced there's going to be a men's and a women's. Can't wait to see where that goes. There are people who are predicting who's going to end up in the men's. It could be possibly Judgment Day versus the OC, who knows? Or we can have like, Matt Riddle versus Seth Rollins or something like that, and they put teams together. Who knows? Also, the news that I forgot to mention is that the Hell in a Cell pay-per-view will be no more, which I completely agree with. And the reasoning behind that is because you don't want to force yourself to put on a Hell in a Cell match when the situation doesn't call for a Hell in a Cell match. Perfect opportunity, I think it was when I said Seth versus Riddle. You could have easily threw them in a Hell in a Cell. The rivalry between them two, the feud was that intense. But unfortunately, because the Hell in a Cell is now a pay-per-view, you have to, do something else. And then when the pay-per-view comes along, if you don't have an intense rivalry, you just throw in, whoever in a Hell in a Cell match. But I'm fine with it. I can't wait to see what pay-per-views we're going to have in 2023 because it is announced that we won't be having as many gimmick pay-per-views as we had previous times. A lot of people are hoping that some of the old school pay-per-views will come back, pay-per-view names will come back. But I can't wait to see what's going to happen from that as well. So we got this week, like I said, we have 3 pay-per-views coming up in November. So WWE and AEW are both working towards those 2 as well. But that's it for the Wrestlebread podcast. Thank you so much for listening. This is a bit of a shorter episode because not a lot of things has really happened this week. Plus, I was tuned into more with the Phillies than I was into wrestling. And there were some things going on as well. So I wasn't really tuning into wrestling as much as I normally do. But let me give some shout outs. Shout out to Julian Rob Bates from Wrestling Core Podcast and AttorneyMinds.com. Keita and Jay from the Keita and Jay Show. Chris from We Talk Next Podcast, which is featured on the Keita and Jay Show. Nando and Larry from Half K Podcast. Devin Hafiz from Clark Street Wrestling. Also special shout out to Straight Talk Wrestling, Circle Debate, and Top Rope Wrestling Talk as well. Coming up next week will be predictions for Crown Jewel. I'm going to be checking it out. I know it's, blood money and stuff like that. Some people may not watch it, but I'm gonna check it out. I'm gonna see what other matches we're gonna have thrown on there, and I'll check it out probably live. Who knows? But I will give my prediction for that. We'll also see what's gonna happen next with AEW between the Firm and MJF. The situation with the Elite. Maybe we'll get more news with what's going on with CM Punk as well. But yeah, tune in. Be sure to hop on Twitter and follow me at JDC137. That's JAYDE, the letter C137. You can also follow the podcast on Twitter at Wrestlebread as well. Be sure to click the links in the bio for the Instagram, the YouTube, and the Facebook page as well. Leave a review. Let me know your thoughts as well. And until next time, guys, peace.